Hey everyone, just wanted to give you an update on the latest project I've been working on. It's called Navicore. It's a way to program your FreeSky transmitter and use the physical buttons there to trigger actions. Before we get too far into it, I just want to apologize for the horrible video quality you're about to get. I'm traveling for work this week, and this is about as good as I could do at the moment, but I will try to stay in focus where I can. But Navicore, what is it? It's a way to, like I said, to trigger animations based on the physical buttons here. So the way I have my transmitter set up that I currently use is like this button here is my scream button. Anytime I want to scream, I hit this button here. A lot of times I want to scream, and I also want to like flutter the panels, like make them go real quick and kind of at the same time scream, but also scare little kids or make them jump. Not really scare, but make them jump. And this is the way I've always had to hit this button and then try to reach over here and hit the flutter button. So if this is my flutter button, I have to hit this and then quickly reach over here and hit this button. Not really intuitive, and to make the matters even worse, my flutter button isn't even on the same mode, or I would say mode as this here. When I say mode, I have three different modes. So if you look up top, I have mode 1, 2, and 3. So I have this switch here, the SE switch, configured for mode 1, 2, and 3. So I have this button here, or all these 18 buttons here are all mapped and to mode 1, 2, and 3. So they do something different in each mode. So like I said, this is scream in mode 1. In mode 2, this is play a song. In mode 3, this is play a different song. So right now I have 54 different ways to control this, but with my new options I have 154, I think, different animation sequences I can do just by triggering these buttons here with the double tap and triple tap. So like I said, it's my flutter's in mode 2 on this port and my scream is on mode 1 on this port. Now I could move things around to put the flutter closer to here, but I'm still hitting two different buttons. I want to be able to hit the same button and do the same thing. So that's why I came up with the double tap and triple tap options. So if I click on here and I get this menu up here, we'll go through this a little bit. So if I scroll right here, right, you'll see the PWM value. So this is the value that the transmitter sends. Then I have the single tap, triple tap, and single, double, and triple tap options. So up here you'll see exclusive mode. I'll get into what that is. Right now it's in what's considered inclusive, so it kind of builds on top of it. So if I wanted to scream, I can go down to an HCR, and then I can do stimulate, and then I can do an overload, which I think is always the scream. I could be wrong. So whenever I hit this button, it's going to do this if I hit it once. Now if I wanted to flutter a panel, and I have a Maestro script for that, I can go here, and then I can go set target, or these are different options. So I could restart a script, and if I know that script there is script 2 and that's my flutter script, I can do this. So now once I hit this once, it's just going to do this vocalizer, and if I hit this the same button twice within 500 milliseconds or half a second, it's going to do this plus this. And if I hit it 3 times, I can do maybe send out a broadcast message to do something, right? So I could have some other options. So it's other ways to let me kind of build up on my animations and lets me get more, fluidity or natural motions or movements out of it. I really like animating and puppeteering my art too, so I think this is going to help me get that, because even though now you have 154 different ways to do it, if you think about it, you're building on top of each other. So anytime I hit this button, I know I want to build on top of that. So I don't really, probably not going to have too many exclusive, but if I go back in here and I click this button up here and I do exclusive, now a single tap does one thing, a double tap does something else. It doesn't do the first thing anymore. It only does the second thing, and the same thing for the third time. So if this one is like open all my panels, this one could be close all my panels. So it lets you toggle between things, or if you have just 3 different animations you want to trigger, you can do it that way. So that's kind of what the buttons are for. Joysticks, I can do Maestro pass-through. We could set that up. We could have a few different Maestro pass-throughs, so I can have all these. I have 8 Maestros are supported. You set the channels up for them, min max values, all that stuff. And I'll show you a demo of this in a second. I just wanted to kind of go over here. So these knobs can be set up for HDR volume. You could do the vocalizer, A or B, wave things, or you could do all of them. So if you wanted to have one master volume for all your different channels for your vocalizer, you can set that up that way. You have your sliders, again, same functions as Maestro pass-through or vocalizers. You have your switches you can set up, and you can configure what happens when you flip a switch to the down, the middle, or up position. So I kind of use SA and SE as my remote thing and one of these switches over here, but like I said, you can figure however you'd like, no matter how you set it, each one of these. So if you wanted to send this one to the WCB2, and like you want this to be turn off your Romadome home auto or something, you could set that up anytime you flip a switch. It does that action. And I said three modes. Right now, the SE on my transmitter doesn't do anything. So I'll bring you over to the live demo. When I say live, it's not really live. Let's see. There we go. So this is my Navicore that's connected to my computer. And this is a simulator I created. Like I said, since I'm traveling for work, I don't really bring my transmitter and receiver with me. So I just wrote a program that simulates that. So if I get a little closer, it has all the same buttons that you see over here. So if I hit this button here, it's just like hitting a button over there. If I move this joystick here, it's just like moving the joystick on my transmitter. And all this guy does is outputs an S-bus value that here it listens to. So now that you see this one actually has an S-bus value, you'll see that it's getting updated every 5 to 7 milliseconds. The frame rate is 111 frames per second. You have all your S-bus channels here. So if I go over here and move the S-bus, you'll see there, if I click a button, you'll see something happening there. Right, you'll see all these different actions happening. And you hear the servos going off because I'm clicking all these buttons over here, but we'll get to that in a moment. So right now, you said I have transmitter, simulator, and my Navicore. So if I look at the hardware wise, this is my simulator and this is my Navicore. Currently, this is just running on a WCB 3.2 hardware, so about $10 worth of hardware. I have a WCB1 here, WCB2 over there. And I have my Maestro tucked in back here and my voltage regulator here, and just 4 servos, channel 0 through 3 on the Maestro. So that's the physical hardware setup. So if I actually look at what I'm configured for on this port here, I've got three Maestro pass-throughs, channel 0, 1, 2. And I guess I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, so let's go up to the top real fast. We'll go to the config. I'll talk about that real quick. So generally you have, like I said, the PCB you're going to be using. You just set that, whether it's the hardware 3.2 or the dedicated PCB that just came in today. So you have all your channels, how this is all set up for all the PWM values. Logical buttons, transmitter, this is where you can set your different transmitters that you're using. WCB information, so this is where you set your MAC addresses, your passwords, your WCB quantity. The Navicore should always be 20, not something you should ever change. It's like a special thing. Your HDR, whether it's on a WCB or if it's local on the serial. MP3 trigger, similar where it's located, whether it's on a WCB or local on a serial. Maestro, you can have up to 8 Maestros connected. Your baud rates for your different serial interfaces, and then firmware, where you could update the firmware right through here. One of the nice things you could do is actually, you can manage this over your WCB network. So if you have an extra ESP32 line around and you throw the WCB software on it, you don't actually have to be plugged into this guy here, the Navicore, at all to manage it. You could do this all over the WCB network, with the exception of one thing, the calibrate button I didn't talk about. So instead of going through here and inputting all these values manually, the calibrate lets you do that from a little graphical user interface. So this will walk you through and it'll tell you press button 1, press button 2, and you'll see the value show up and it'll automatically capture that button press value, so you don't have to go through and manually input all that stuff. So that's that. So like I said, here, down here, you'll see the same thing as clicking this button here. You'll see all the animations. So right here is all in one little table for you. And all these buttons, like this is for mode 1, but if I go to mode 2, right, now nothing's configured. So all those animations that you just saw for button 1 or mode 1 are all different for mode 1 and mode 2 and mode 3. So it gives you a lot of different options. So I think I'm going to just show you servo pass through. So I'm going to move my mouse here and you'll see all that's moving just by me transmitting here. So that's probably nothing too new, but one of the cool features I've been working on is the clips. So it lets you record the S-bus values that's coming out of your transmitter and replay them. So I'm going to just call this, we'll call this repeat. All right, and then we're just going to hit record. And then I'm going to move my transmitter. I just move that for a few seconds. I come back up here, hit stop and save. And now if I look in my table here, right, there it is, called repeat. So if I just hit play, and now I'm not touching my computer anymore, so I can't trigger this. So this is happening just by replaying those S-bus values. Which is nice, but you're not really going to want to come into this screen every time. So if you go out of here and we'll just choose an empty button, we'll choose button 2, and I know it's empty because it's not highlighted by the blue dot or blue outline. And we're just going to come up here and we're just going to go play clip. All right, and then we're going to type repeat and hit apply. And now, since I configured this button, if I come over here to my simulator and I click this button and I watch these guys, and they're going to go get triggered now with a button press. So now I recorded something and triggering it with just a button press. So that's kind of where I'm at with this. I do want to work on an editor for this. So if I came up to clips and I click here, right, if I click one of these animations, I want to be able to bring it up and choose the servo adjustment points, so maybe it doesn't go to the full end point. I'm able to adjust the servo motions, maybe implement easing or curves or something like that in the middle of the timeline. I want to be able to trigger an animation. I should be able to say, you know, send this WCB command at this specific time, and so kind of build that into it. So that's something I want to work on still. So that'll be probably my next thing I'll be focusing on. But yeah, let me know if you have any questions. I'm always happy to talk about it, and if you have any suggestions, let me know. Reach out. All right, guys, have a great one. Bye.